Welcome to my live talk. I'm Edmar Mac. As I promised last week, I was going to be back on Wednesday, 2 p.m., and we are back today, 2 p.m. So this live talk is all about exploring entrepreneurship, leadership mindset, and the business investment opportunity. So today, I'm talking with Kevin McDonnell. Some of you in property already know Kevin McDonnell. He has an interesting business and investment journey from losing few $100,000 to become top property investor and international speaker, mentor, and above all, the author of best-selling book, No Money Down. So helping me to welcome Kevin. Kevin, how are you today?
Hi, good, thank you. Great to be on the show, Edmar. Really appreciate you inviting me on. And hopefully your audience enjoy it.
Okay, well, thanks. I'm sure they will enjoy, because all of us here, this platform is all about teaching, all about finding a way to move ourselves. So, Kevin, now everyone knows you as a top property investor. You're into speaking and mentoring. You also wrote your best-selling book, No Money Down Property, which I'm waiting to get my copy, and I hope it will make a magic for me, because there's many people talking about the magic the book is making. But before all of that, what did you do?
So you said everyone sees me as a top investor, number one. So my mother doesn't. My mother still sees me as her youngest son. She's got no idea what I do. So not everyone. But what did I do before? I'm the youngest of 8 kids. So I grew up in the west of Ireland, and my mom and dad had a farm. So when I grew up, my brother was about 10 years older than me, and he was given the farm as you do in Ireland. The oldest son gets the farm. And I used to work. I worked in a cattle mart. I worked on driving tractors in the farm and also for other farmers. But my brother got the farm, and I got to go to university, and I studied to be a quality manager. So really boring stuff: ISO 9001, Six Sigma, auditing, all this sort of stuff. And when I finished, obviously living in the west of Ireland, there wasn't a huge amount of jobs for what I was doing. So I came to London to work for a construction company called Lang O'Rourke in 2002. And I spent well over 10 years working for Lang O'Rourke in construction. But while I was doing it, I had got some interest in property. So initially it started at university, when my landlord used to come every Thursday, I think it was, to collect the rent. And he'd come, and all of us students would hand him the rent. And I used to think, wow, that's a great job. And I spoke to him a few times. He told me he had more than one house. And I remember going home to my mum once going, you know, my landlord, he's actually got more than one house. And my mum was like, how could he have more than one house? Nobody's got more than one house. And this is the sort of mentality I grew up around, that you have to work hard for money, and it's not easy to own a home, and you'll only ever have one, and make sure you've got you pay your mortgage and get a good pension. And I came to the UK, and I guess I broke away from that a little bit, and I started sharing a house with workers in Lang O'Rourke, and one of them was a lad from South Africa, and he was interested in property, and he had actually been buying property in South Africa, and he got me interested in doing property investing. So that was how I sort of got into it. But the challenge was I tried to do it alone with William's support, my mate from South Africa, but he didn't know what he was doing either, really. He was just doing the traditional thing, which was saving up a deposit in a job to buy a house. And then he'd save up another deposit to buy another house. And he was buying cheap property in South Africa with London wages. And he told me that the best thing to do was to buy abroad, because he was. So I went off and I bought in Turkey, Estonia, and Bulgaria. But the problem was, he wasn't buying abroad. He was buying at home, because he was. So what I should have done with his teaching was go to Ireland to buy, a market I knew. But I went to 3 countries that I signed contracts in Turkey, Bulgaria, and Estonia. I couldn't even understand the contract. It was written in a foreign language. So I lost over 135 grand plus all the. I don't even want to know the final number. Estonia never got built. It never even had planning permission. It was a complete scam. Bulgaria has been completely trashed by the Bulgarian mafia. We had bought from the mafia. And the Turkey one, it got built, it got finished. But it didn't really rent out, so I sold it. But I sold it for about half the price I paid for it. So I lost a lot of money on that one as well. But it was money I didn't have, and I was I had a bunch of credit cards that I had debts on, and I had personal loans. I had to take out. I got lucky that I was Irish, because I could take personal loans out in England and in Ireland. And that was the only way I survived. And I was paying pretty much all of my wages in line of work was going to paying back the loans. And that was, so I moved to UK in 2002, tried to do property. By 2014, I was living in a room in a shared house and still in massive debt. But what I did was in 2013, I went to the Progressive Property. They ran a big super conference at Wembley Stadium. So I attended the super conference, and I sat in the audience and I seen all these people up on stage. And a guy got invited up on stage by Rob Moore, who's the co-founder of Progressive, a lad called Cam Devady. And Cam Devady stood up on stage and he was explaining how he had massive debt previously and how he had turned his life around and he had built a multi-million-pound portfolio and everything was great. And many people hear that story and they think, yeah, right, yeah, sure. But what was interesting was a few years earlier, I had actually sat at an event in London in around 2006 or 2007. I sat at an event in London next to Cam Devady, and he was in massive debt. And he was there trying to learn how to be a property investor. And what had happened after that event is I went back and I did my job for a few years, and Cam Devady went to Progressive and changed his life. So that gave me the belief that actually it was possible, because somebody that I knew had done it, knew was not in a good place, had done it. So then why couldn't I? If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does make sense. So what you're talking about, and I can look myself just about to leave university and go into workplace and maybe go into career that will add a lot of professionalism, but not a lot of what I want to get. And another thing I learned from you is that you made a massive mistake, which I believe that also gave you a lot of power and the energy and the vision, the drive to be where you are today. But losing £100,000, that's not easy money, especially because you were young at that time.
It cost me my hair.
Yes. But another thing I believe that I can see is a truth from your side is that it's not what happened to you, but it's how you deal with what happened to you.
Yeah.
You lost all of the money, but you didn't give up. Did you continue in your property investment, or you took break? What did you do? Because you said you went to the training, but was straight away, or you had some training?
So I bought the property in Eastern Europe in 2003, 4, and 5. Between that, it's sort of 2-year period, 2.5-year period between the 3 houses. It was only 2007 that I realized I had actually lost the money, because when you're buying them, you think it's good. It's only later you find out it's bad. So it was 2007 that I realized that I was in a bit of a mess. And then literally through stress, my brother's 10 years older than me. He's got a full head of hair. I was joking about this happened, but actually stress caused within about 18 months, stress caused all my hair to fall out. The stress of the debt. I didn't tell anybody I was in debt. I was afraid to tell my family. I was afraid to tell my friends how stupid, really stupid. It's not something you want to share, how stupid you were. It was only when I shared it a few years later that I could actually release the fact that I made the mistakes, but also help other people not make the same mistakes. So the debt, I realized I had this problem in 2007. I realized that I was in a massive mess. I didn't have the money in the first place, by the way. This was staged payments. I didn't have 135 grand to invest. It wasn't like somebody read my book, they left a review on Amazon saying, why is it's not really a big problem. He had the money in the first place. I didn't have the money in the first place. I paid out about 2 grand staged payments. I paid 8 maximum on one. In total, I put in about 12 grand to the 3 apartments when I put down the first payment, and then you paid for them as they were built. And then I had to earn the money because I thought I was going to get a mortgage, but I never got a mortgage. So then that's why I ended up on credit cards and personal loans. But what I did in 2007 was I literally stressed out for years. I put my head in the sand and I wished the problem away. And it took me till 2013 to attend that event. So 6 years of basically doing nothing apart from sticking my head in the sand going, I wish I didn't make those mistakes, and blaming everybody else for what happened apart from myself. And it was in 2013 that I woke up to myself and realized that actually the person who invested abroad was me. The person who made the decision to sign a contract he couldn't read was me. It was my choice. And sometimes you got to own your own decision. And it's only when you own your own decision that you can move forward. But here's what I'll tell you for anyone who's listening to this that's ever made a mistake. You absolutely 100% cannot change the mistake. You can't change the mistake. It's done. But we only live one life. You got one life on this planet, right? And I wasted 6-7 years blaming the world for my mistake. And then I owned it myself. As soon as you own your own mistake, then you can look forward. And you cannot change the past. The only thing you can do is you can make a decision today to write a new future. I got in debt quickly, but you can get out of debt quickly too with the right mindset, the right knowledge, the right education, the right support. But you know what? The right knowledge with the wrong mindset is a waste, because loads of people get the right knowledge, but they don't use it, because we all know stuff we don't use. It's the right knowledge with the right mindset that gets you the result.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good point you just raised, because my main point for this live talk and all my live talk is about exploring mindset. Because when I was young, my mom was telling me one day that even if you move from Africa and go to Europe, but if you take your mindset, you will create another Africa in Europe. And if you move from Europe to America, and if you go with the same mindset, you will create a Europe in America. So it's not about where you are. It's about how do you think about what is around you. And that's fantastic. You had a massive mess, but you took some time and you transform your mess into your success. That's fantastic. Now let's leave the mess behind. It was good we're talking about. I always remember where we come from to give us foundation to where we are and the projected future. But now you are a top speaker. I also call you teacher, because I watch some of your material and I see that you have a great quality as a teacher. You teach with passion, with love, energy, and you are a teacher in Progressive Property Academy. So Progressive Property Academy is somehow I call it like is a particular academy, because it's not public academy. So if you Google a Progressive Property Academy, I'm not sure if it will come out as a Progressive Property Academy, but
Progressive Property Community.
Or Progressive Property Community. Yes. So you teach some of the strategy to help people to get into property or to leave the poverty and start a new life. That's how I put it for myself, so it makes more sense. So what are those strategies that you teach there?
Okay, so I was in huge debt, as I said, when I was trying to get into property. And many people think you need money to get started in property. And you do need money. But here's the thing. Most people don't have money. And you hear people that have become successful going, oh, you need money to get started. And then you ask them, how did you get started? And they say, well, I borrowed money from a bank, or I borrowed money from a family member, or I borrowed money from a work colleague, or I borrowed money from a total stranger, or I joint ventured with somebody. So I looked at myself and I went, right, I'm in over 100 grand of debt. What can I do? And every single property deal I look at it and say, how could I do this deal if I was starting with absolutely nothing? How could I structure the deal if I was starting with nothing? And everything I do is around the concept of no money down. And I wrote a book on it, that No Money Down Property Investing. It's an Amazon bestseller. It's worth a read. And there's loads of tips and stuff in there on how to do deals creatively. The concept of no money down is not that there's no money needed. No matter what type of deal you do, money is always needed, but it does not have to be your money. Reality is, and nobody buys a house with their own money, because if you were buying a 200 grand house, do you physically walk into the estate agents with a briefcase, open it up and start counting out 200 grand? No. Most of it is borrowed from a bank, number one. And here's the interesting thing. You don't even see that money. You don't see the bank's money. The money, the rest of it may be your deposit money. But why do you have to? We're in the year 2020. There's cryptocurrencies. There's loads of stuff changing. It's a disruptive environment. They're looking at people on the news like this week, Marcus Rashford talking about school dinners and making changes. He's not even in the government, but the power has come back to the people, not the system. The system controlled the country for years. It controlled the world. The power is with the people. You've got crowdfunding platforms. You can put a deal on crowdfunding platform and raise the money through crowdfunding. It's not your money. if you've got a property, you could borrow the entire purchase price on an interest rate from another person and pay them interest on their money. You could joint venture with somebody, so long as they need to be a sophisticated investor. So on joint venturing, there's a website called, if you Google PS13/3, it gives you all the details around how you can legally joint venture, right? So PS13/3 legislation. But money loans, you can borrow money off anybody for any interest rate. You can joint venture with sophisticated investors. You can do partnerships. You can even turn your pension pot into a SAS, a small self-administered scheme, and use your own pension pot to invest in property. That's a pension pot that you probably have no idea what it's invested in. And when this coronavirus thing started, your pension pot dropped by about 2/3 in value because it was in stocks and shares. Maybe it was in airlines or something. That took a major hammering. But you control it if you invested into property. So it's basically taking back control of your own world, your own life. And there's loads of ways. Somebody's got a mortgage on a house already. You could take control of their mortgage rather than take out your own. You can do strategies like rent to rent. So somebody's got a property, they don't want to sell it, but they also don't want the hassle of managing it. They want what I call the baby, but not the labor pain. And you can take control of that property, take care of the labor pain for them, look after the property and pay them a guaranteed amount every month, and you get everything above that amount. So there's lots of ways that you can create money from property, control other people's property. If you imagine a car, you lease a car, right? That seems normal to people to lease a car. It's not your car. You're just controlling it. You're driving it. It's the very same thing with the house. You control it through leasing the property where you've got the keys of the house instead of the keys of a car. So there's lots of ways in my No Money Down book that we go through that you can do this. But money, property is worth something. There's always money needed, but it doesn't have to be your money. So it's no money sometimes, very little money, or none of your own money. Mm-hmm. The reality is you see people with 50, 60 houses. They didn't buy that with their money they saved up in a job. They bought it through using creative strategies that it's allowed them to build their portfolio. And this is why mindset is the key. Getting the right knowledge, but then having the right mindset to back yourself, believe in yourself, and to go after your dreams and your goals. Because otherwise, you're going to spend the rest of your life in a job building somebody else's dream and goals. You see, you're either part of someone else's plan or you're part of your own plan. The question is, which do you want to be?
Well, I want to be part of my own plan because I believe I'm very young to be building someone else. So what you said is right. Some of us, before I say that, if you're watching us, one thing I want you to take with yourself, the right mindset is the key for success. It's not about how much you have in your bank, because I talked to someone yesterday and they were telling me, how did you manage to buy your house if you're a student? So, and they have a full-time job, they have like salary 3 times than what I have, but they couldn't do it. So I was telling them, you may have knowledge, you might have money, but if you don't know how to use it, it's pointless. So you just nailed it. You may not have money, but someone else have money. So you might join your energy, your knowledge with the money. And another thing is this podcast and this live talk, and Kevin is a living example that some of us, we needed to associate with some people, because some of the poverty mindset that we born and that we trained, educated with, we have to change it. We have to eradicate from our mind to live life we want to live.
Yeah. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. When I grew up, I love my mates and whatever, but I spent my time with people who weren't business minded. Great people, hard workers, real good fun, great to be around, but not business minded. I still love my friends. However, I've got my friends and I've got my property friends, because you need the 2 sides. If you're around people, when you say to them, I'm thinking about buying a second house, and they go, oh, don't do that. That's risky. You don't want to be doing that. What if you can't find tenants? This sort of thing. That's the wrong person to be around. Yes, have some fun with them, go on holiday with them. But when you're looking for business advice, don't get your business advice off my mom. You get your business advice off somebody like me. Completely different mindset. Same family, different mindset. So I'll give you a story. When I was growing up in school, we'd go out out at nighttime to a pub or a nightclub. And there was one guy in our town, I won't say who he is in case he's watching, but he'll know. There was one guy in our town who was quite wealthy, and he always went out at nighttime and he'd have £50 notes. And he'd go up to the bar, and anytime he was going to the bar to buy a drink for him and his mates, he'd always take out a £50 note and hand it across the bar. And me and my mates would be sitting in the corner, and we'd see him go up to the bar, and we'd go, look, he's gone up to the bar, and you'd nudge one of your mates and go, I bet he takes out another 50. And he'd take out another 50, he'd go to buy the drinks, and we'd all sit back laughing, going, ha, another 50. I bet you tomorrow he must have a huge amount of change in his pocket. How is he going to walk home? His trousers is going to fall off on the way home with all the change, because he's not spending his change, he's only taken out a 50. And we laughed about him. At no point did I ask myself, how is he making the 50? How did he get the 50? Where's the 50 coming from? What's he doing? What does he know that I don't know? Because we're in the same town, right? So whatever he's doing, I can do. I only grew up 4 or 5 miles away from him. So what's he doing? Where is he making the 50? How's he making the 50? Wrong mindset. Being around different people today, anytime I see somebody drive a sports car, have a nice house, I don't go drug dealer, tosser, whatever it may be. I go, that's interesting. I wonder what he does. I wonder what she does. I wonder how they got that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you align yourself to those people. Follow the successful, and success follows.
Wow. I could be here till tomorrow just in talking to you. That's just great. For me, this is not, I wouldn't say this is one of my best live talk, but this is the greatest one so far. And all of them being great, but all of them is great in that way. And I feel now I know maybe why you have a lot of success, because you know what you're doing, you know who to associate with, and you know how to get information. And I believe like many young people or many people who wants to make change should come to you and get some advice from you.
But here's the thing, and this is why I believe everybody can do this. You say, I know this. I'm going to give my age away now. I spent 22 years, from the age of 15 to the age of 37. I spent 22 years working hard for money. And at the age of 37, in the middle of 2014, I was in so now you know my age. Right? I was in over 100 grand of debt, having worked 22 years hard. By the end of 2015, I was free. Now, I was not a millionaire. I was free of the need to work. I had replaced my income. Okay? I'm a millionaire today, but at the end of 2015, I replaced my income. Now, here's a mindset thing. When I start, what age are you, Eddie? What age are you?
I'm 25.
25. When I was 24, 25 almost, I went off on my journey to Estonia, Turkey, and Bulgaria between the age of 24 and 27-ish. And I lost all my money because what I did was I chased becoming a millionaire. I chased the money. I chased the millions. With no knowledge, no education, I went off and I chased millions. And I found debt. In 2014, I chased knowledge. I chased aligning myself to the right people. I chased the knowledge, and I chased one deal at a time. One deal at a time to replace my income. You see, I was trying to be a millionaire, but you know what the most important thing is? Not the money, it's your time. Get your time back. If you need 3 grand a month, right, stop trying to chase the million, just get to 3 grand a month. I need 3 grand a month. Let's say you do rent to HMO. So you rent a property and you run it as a HMO, and you can make £1,000 a month. Then you need 3 deals. Now you don't need a million, you just need the keys to 3 houses. If you're going to make 500 quid a month, you need 6 deals. You could say, okay, I need 6 deals. I'm going to do 1 every 2 months for the next 12 months. Now you're starting to build your plan. But the problem is a lot of people have this knowledge. They're going, oh, I want to make all this money. They're chasing a dream instead of having a clear plan. And there's only 3 things you need to get successful, right? You need knowledge, you need time, and you need money. Here's the thing. You might be sitting at home thinking, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but I've got the money. You might be sitting at home thinking, I've got the time and the knowledge, but I don't have the money, right? Nobody when they start out have got all 3. The difference is some people back themselves, believe in themselves, and go for the bit that's missing. So if you've got the time, it's easy to get the knowledge, right? Read my book, read other books, come do some trainings, get the knowledge. And then the knowledge will show you how to find the money. If you've got the money, look for somebody with the knowledge. And one person's knowledge and time, somebody else's money, you've got the perfect joint venture partnership. So this, guys, is all about mindset. It's the mindset about you believing in yourself. Because I will tell you, there is only one place that property investing does not work. There's only one place that business does not work. And that one place is right here in your head.
Wow.
If that's where it doesn't work.
Maybe I have to change my head, or I have to align myself with people who has completely different mindset. Because
it's aligning yourself with people with a different mindset. Because I spent till the age of 37, I believed that it was impossible. I believed that I shouldn't have dreamed. I made mistakes. Why would somebody like me? Why would I ever be able to be successful? No, like none of my family were ever business owners. We all have jobs. I have a sister that's a teacher. Good job, right? Why is she a teacher? Because in school, right, our career guidance people would tell us in Ireland to be a policeman, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, one of those type of jobs. Why? Government job to keep you in the system for the rest of your life. At no point when I went through school did anybody, until I moved to England, by the way, right? I shouldn't even share this. This is how backward I was. Until I moved to England, I didn't know people made loads of money on the stock market as stock market traders. I'd never heard of a stock market trader, and loads of other types of jobs. Now today we've got YouTubers. We've got 15-year-old kids. My son is 3 years old, right? And he's watching this Ryan's Toys online the whole time. He talks more about Ryan's Toys than he does about me. Ryan's Toys, he made $17 million last year or something. The kid's 8 years old. So don't tell me that you can't do this. There's never been a better opportunity to make money in this world. There's never been more money in the planet than there is today. And if you don't have the money, that's because of two things. One is you don't believe you deserve it. And two is you're possibly chasing the money instead of chasing the knowledge and being around the people who can teach you the right mindset and change your mindset. Because you don't need a new head. You just need to reprogram your head.
Wow. I did my first and second year, I did computer science, and I know how to program, create a website, coding. Now, one thing I have to do, I have to learn to program and coding myself. All the Java, all the CSC++ will be in my own head. Because what you just said is a changing. If you just join our live talk, we are talking about right mindset that can make you live the best life you always dreamed of. And that today, as you can see, the only one, Kevin McDonnell, who is I call him property teacher, but he is everything from speaking, from the book, from the knowledge, family man. So, there's everything you want to know in life, you can ask him, because he lost and that he came back.
Not everything, relationships.
Well, everything in terms of business, opportunity, a change mindset, because you just said with the right mindset, you can do everything. So if you have the right mindset, then you will be able to do everything you want.
And if my wife's watching, our relationship's fine. I don't mean our relationship. I mean other people's relationships. I'm not a worker.
No, I take some of the weight on myself. Kevin McDonnell, I'm asking some of the trick questions, so don't worry. Yeah, we still want him back tomorrow the way he is today.
You spoke about you doing computer programming and how you need to reprogram your own mind. What's the most powerful computer in the world?
The biggest powerful computer in the world right now is a Qingjin. I forgot how to say in China. In Chinese, is a Chinese supercomputer, and he does 4 quadrillion processing per second. So it's a supercomputer in China.
So I'm going to challenge you on that. Mm-hmm. That is not the most powerful computer in the world. The most powerful computer on the world sits between your two ears?
Our brain.
Our brain is our brain is the most powerful computer in the world. Now I want to challenge you, and I want to challenge your entire audience on something. You say it's not possible maybe to do property, or it's not possible to be successful in business, or it's not possible to become a millionaire. I'll tell you something. It is impossible. It is impossible to think an impossible thought. The only one thing that's impossible in this world is to think an impossible thought. Anything that's ever been thought by a human mind has been achieved. There is not a single thing that you can think of that is not possible. So if one other person can be successful in business, so can you.
Yes. That's the point of our mind. That's the point of our live talk. Because one thing I learned from all successful people, they don't respect the limitation and the barrier created by society. They create their own way. I was reading a Bill Gates book. He said once he was working for IBM, and he was talking then about the dream of creating this fancy and the new computer idea, and they laughed at him. So he went home and he did that computer, and he came back. Now IBM depend on Microsoft to live. So if there's no opportunity where you are, create your own opportunity. I talked about myself, where I was born and the family I came from. We didn't have enough opportunity to dream, because when I talked to my other classmate and the friend, I asked them, when you were young, what did you dream to be? They always tell me, I always wanted to be scientist. I always wanted to be like research, all of that. Then I look at myself, but I remember I didn't have the opportunity to dream. Where I would like, because there was not in my home. So I said, now I know why I didn't have opportunity to dream, because the opportunity was in me to create my reality instead of just dreaming.
Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from a small country called Sao Tome and the Prince, near to Africa. It's a country in Africa, very small country called Sao Tome and the Prince, with only 200,000 people.
Wow. Okay. So here's what's interesting. I coach and mentor a lot of people, and a lot of people I meet at events as well that don't take coaching and mentoring, and they don't, for whatever reason. They don't back themselves. They don't think they need it. They go away, they make the mistakes, and they lose more money making mistakes than they ever do doing it through support, because you pay for your education one way or the other. But here's the thing. A lot of really successful people, the people that don't maybe back themselves, sometimes I'll speak to people and they'll say to me that they don't think it's possible for them, or they're not confident speaking to an estate agent, or I'm not sure if I'll come across as knowledgeable, or am I too old in my 50s, or am I too young in my teens? Here's the thing. I meet people in their teens, in their 20s, they say they're too young. When I was 22, I thought I was too young. I waited till I was 24, then I made mistakes, right? So I know people that are teenagers, early 20s, that think they're too young. I also know people that are teenagers, early 20s, that are absolutely smashing it in property. I know people in their 40s and 50s that are absolutely smashing it in property, and in their 60s and 70s. And I also know people who say, I think I'm too old. Here's my question. It's back to mindset. What was the day? What was the day that you went from too young to too old? Because the very people that say I'm too young are the very people that wake up someday and go, I'm too old, right? The reality is you're never too young, you're never too old. While this thing here in your head is still ticking, you can achieve anything you choose to achieve. No such thing as too young or too old. No such thing whatsoever as that. It's all about you backing yourself. But here's the thing. Some people are too comfortable. You're comfortable in your job. You don't need to take the risk. Many people say to me, right, why did I lose? Why did I keep going when I lost so much money in property? And you might think it was a positive mindset. And I know we're talking a lot about mindset today. It wasn't really a positive mindset. My mindset was shit, because everything I ever tried went wrong. I was 22 years, remember, doing nothing. Here's what I was. I had no choice. I had no choice. You see, I lost the money in 2004, 5, 6. And by 2014, I was still over 100 grand in debt. And I looked and I thought, if I continue to try and pay this debt back from income from a job, I will be paying it back till I'm in my 60s and 70s. I have never owned a home. I've got no choice but to try and make more money another way than in a job. Now, here's what's interesting. The thing that put me in debt, property, lost me over 100 grand. Had it lost me 20 grand, had I lost 20 grand, I would never have done property again because I could have earned my way out of the 20 grand debt. But the best thing, so the worst thing that ever happened to me was I lost 135 grand in Eastern Europe. But the paradox is that the best thing that ever happened to me was that I lost 135 grand in Eastern Europe. Because the fact I lost so much money meant I had no choice but to keep going. It was nothing to do with positive mindset. I had no choice. Okay? Here's the thing. I researched what could make that money back. And guess what? The very thing that put me in debt was property. And the only thing that could get me back out of that debt was property.
Wow, that's fantastic. You use your somehow what made you get into issue to take you out of issue. So that's how it is.
The problem is some people have got a choice. You've got the choice because you're comfortable to stay in the job. You've got the choice to watch Coronation Street in an evening instead of going out to do a viewing. When it's teeming down rain at 7 o'clock on a Thursday evening in the middle of November, you can cuddle up with your partner on the sofa, or you can go out and try and change your life. Some people are just too comfortable and they make all of these external excuses as to why they're not successful and they blame other people. But the reality is they're comfortable. You need to become uncomfortable if you want to become truly comfortable.
Mm-hmm. You know, while you talk now, I remember one day I was telling my Mom, I don't like eating this thing and I'm not going to eat it. So she was telling me, you like it because you spend like some of your life living in England, going to good school. But if you travel to different country in Africa or somewhere, like if they don't eat what they have, they will die. So it is the same thing like you're saying, like the only reason sometimes we complain a lot and we make a lot of mistakes and we continue the level we are is because we have a choice to decide, okay, if I want, I go. If I don't want, I go. But of some people, if they don't go, they're going to die. And if they stay, they're going to die. So the only way is to move. So, you know, one of your talk, you were talking about buying property with not your money. Which that the day I heard that, it was mind blowing, which come back to my mindset I had at the time, because after that I managed to buy my first place. So, but when I heard that, it was my mom bought a house, but she worked and she get money from bank to buy a house. My sister bought a second house, but she had to wait 10 years, working a good job, good salary to buy a second house. And then you come in and tell me you can buy money with not your house. Then you talk about a rent to buy. Can you explain to me what's rent to buy? Or maybe I already know what rent to buy, but I was talking to someone yesterday, what's rent to buy? And they live near to where I live, but their head was, what are you talking about? So I know they are watching. Can you just explain to them what's rent to buy?
Yeah. So the first 3 houses I lived in personally were all rent to buy. So the first one, I was living in a room in a shared house. And I learned through progressive, right? When I went there 2013, 2014, I learned that you could do a thing called rent to rent. Now I was renting off a landlord in a multi-let property. So what I did instead was I thought, okay, let's find a house. And I found a property that I could rent out as 5 bedrooms. But instead of renting it out as 5 bedrooms, what I did was I moved into one of the rooms myself. And then second room, I turned into an office, and the other 3 rooms I rented out at £325 each, bringing in 975 quid. Now I rented the house for 575 and I paid the bills. My total costs were just over 930 quid, and I'm bringing in 975. So I had about 30 quid extra money. I had a living for free office in 2 of the rooms, and I had no cost. So that was living for free, first of all. Now, I was sharing the house with other people, but I was a live-in landlord. But here's the thing, I didn't own the house. I was just renting the house. Okay?
Wow.
Rent to rent. But what I also did was the landlord I took the house off, I also agreed the option to buy. So I signed a contract that gets to buy the property at any point in the next 12 years for 162.5 grand. So the landlord had guaranteed rent of 575 every month and an agreed purchase price at 162.5 grand at any point in the next 12 years. So if that house goes up in value, I'm still paying 162.5. But so I've got control of it and I can buy it later. See, when you buy a house today, you go to Barclays or Halifax or one of the banks to take out a mortgage. My bank, my lender was the owner of the house. Why does the lender have to be a bank when the lender can be a person? Okay, so in that property, I actually met my wife in that property. So she was renting a room in the house, I'm renting a room in the house. We spent about a year living together before we actually became a couple. And then we decided to move out and find another place. So we moved into another house that was a rent to buy. So now when I say rent to buy, many people go, I don't see these rent to buys advertised on the market. They're not advertised as rent to buy. You have to look for them. You're looking for a house maybe that's on the market for sale, but it's also to let. So if you've seen them, I know you've seen them. There's a for sale board outside and there's a to let board outside. But with the right mindset and the right knowledge, you look at that differently and you go, okay, this landlord really wants to sell. So why are they looking to rent it as well if they really want to sell? Because they must be struggling. So they really want to sell, but it's empty and they're covering 2 mortgages and they're losing a lot of money every month. And all they want is their costs covered. They don't really want a tenant, by the way. They really want to sell. So I approach them and I say, I really want to buy. However, could I rent it initially and buy it later? Rent to buy. That's all we're doing. Now, it's not just that. We can target a landlord who's got a house for sale. Maybe it's been on the market for over 9 months. He's been trying to sell it. He's not got any offers. And we say, listen, we'll buy it. But you've been sitting empty for 9 months. You're paying the council tax, the gas, the electric. There's a risk of a leaky pipe that causes a load of damage. Maybe somebody will break in. You live somewhere else. You don't get to see the house. We'll buy it off you. We'll give you your asking price, or we'll agree a price close to your asking price. But could we move in today, rent it off you so we give you money? We'll take on all of your bills. We'll look after the house. We'll improve it. And I'll buy it off you later. So many people think, oh, how do I get these deals? You have to find an investor who's got a problem, a homeowner who's got a problem, and you solve their problem. I spent years trying to do property deals where I was only interested in me and my problem. How do I make money from this house? My entire approach, the full approach of no money down investing is ignore you. It's not about you. Solve their problem. If you solve the other person's problem, if you solve the problem of the seller, you will then get the keys. Solve their problem. What's their problem? Listen to what they're saying. How do you find out their problem? Ask them. What's most important to you? Have your cost covered now or get the sale of your house? What's more important to you? Getting the sale of your house or getting your asking price? Because they say, I can buy it off you, but it'll be 25% below market value. But what's more important? Is it your asking price? If your asking price is more important, brilliant. I can give you your asking price later. So I can buy it now for value, or I can buy it later for your asking price. Which do you prefer? The person's problem.
Wow, the secret is solving the problem, and does no matter what, there's always option. If there's a will, there's a way.
There's loads of options. The great thing about property is there's loads of ways to negotiate property deals. Negotiation is a key. You could be the best marketer in the world. You could be brilliant at marketing. You could be brilliant at finding deals, but you got to know how to negotiate as well. There's a whole toolbox of things you need to learn. But here's the thing. Just like becoming a plumber, just like becoming an electrician, it's a learned skill. Anyone listening to this right now, any one of your guests, I bet you you are better at your job today than the day you started. Why? Because it's a learned skill. But here's why you're better at your job. You stay in that job because you got to pay your rent or your mortgage at the end of the month. But the reason you don't stay the course on property is because you don't need to, because you're comfortable. Because you've got the job and the income and the nice car on the road maybe, or you're doing okay. You want to go down the pub on a Saturday night with your mates if they're open. You want to go to the cinema with your girlfriend or your boyfriend. You want to have the perfect life that you've currently got, and at the same time you're dreaming of having another income. But what you're not willing to do is you're not willing to commit the time. You see, this is a simple process, but it ain't easy, right? But I tell you what, it's the easiest hard work you'll ever do. It's the easiest hard work you'll ever do, but you got to put the work in. And many people will turn around and say, maybe I got lucky, maybe other people got lucky. Here's the thing. Luck is labor. It's labor under the correct knowledge. Get the correct knowledge and do the work. You got to get something else. Right, there's 24 hours in a day. We all have 24 hours. You've got to use your 24 hours smarter. You've got to give something up out of your current 24 to make the time to change your life.
Wow. That is fantastic. I'm just listening to you, and I forgot about time. Our time is flying. I do have 2 questions left.
Yeah, go.
Which I have to ask you. Sorry, give me another 2 or 3 minutes, please.
Yeah, you're fine.
But before we go there, I just want to tell you that thanks for the great lesson. The lesson is fantastic. Some of our viewers are engaging with some question, and there are some people who is very advanced in property. But the lesson and the life experience speak more than everything. And I can see that you are full of knowledge. And one day I remember my mentor was telling me, don't look for promotion. Don't go and ask your manager to be promoted or what he said. He said, don't ask for pay raise. Go and fix your manager problem. And he was telling me, if your mom is giving you a lot of headache at home, go and start fixing your mom problem. I said, what do you mean? Yes, go and start washing the dish, and go and start cleaning the living room. Go wash your mom's car. When you start fixing your headache issue, they come to you and they start helping you. So if your problem is you feeling like you have a debt or you have an issue with life, watch this video. Connect with some people who's way ahead. Like as Kevin said, the right mindset. Start reading some books. Some people are mad. They are frustrated with themselves. Start reading some books. Start associated with some people. As you said, YouTube is a free channel. There's endless information there. I just have to respect your time. One thing we have to take in consideration is that one of the points you raised is that is a rent-to-rent and a house of multiple occupants with HMO. So it is I believe it is the easiest or the simplest to start comparing to going to the bank and getting mortgage and doing single let. But with the challenge of COVID-19, in the market, do you think people are going to? What makes people go to live in for example, in HMO?
Right. So I get asked this as well a lot, right? People recently saying, is there still demand for rental now with the current market? The last time I checked, right? Well, obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic, and a lot of people have lost their lives. But there's 68 million plus people in this country. The last time I checked, we all need to live in a house. Just because there's a pandemic doesn't mean we all moved into the streets. So apart from what's happening with the illness, the population of this country is not much different than it was 6 months ago. Here's the interesting thing though. We are now in a recession. We're in a recession. Many smart people are talking about the fact we're in a depression. Now, when we're in a recession, things change. Strategies change, things change. The thing about strategies like rent to rent, things like lease options, they come into their own in a recession. They become even more important in a recession. Because somebody that needs to sell their house, but the house price has dropped. In October, people are in a false bubble right now. Come October, there's going to be a drop in the housing market. Because if you remember a couple of months ago, loads of companies were laying people off, and then the government introduced a furlough scheme and said, bring them back, we'll pay them. But the furlough scheme is coming to an end in October. So what the companies are going to say is, I hope you enjoyed being back for the last few months. We did our best to help you out. However, furlough's ended. Our circumstances haven't changed. We're going to have to lay you off. There's going to be layoffs coming, and that will bring a dip in the housing market. It'll reduce prices. Now, more importantly, Loads of people have been living at home together, husbands and wives fighting with each other, realizing actually I don't really love you, and they're divorcing. I read a report this week, divorce has gone through the roof. And what happens when divorce goes through the roof? Single people, a couple separate and become single people. One of them has to get accommodation elsewhere. Guess where they move? A HMO room. They don't move into a big 4-bed detached house in the country. They move into a HMO room. We've been inundated in our letting agency for one half of a couple looking for a room in a HMO. Secondly is all the young people in their 20s just out of uni, like yourself, right? Out of university, they're trying to do the keep up with the Joneses thing, tell their mates, look at the nice like studio apartment I've got overlooking the river, or the nice 2-bed flat or 1-bed, 2-bed house, whatever it may be. And then they look and they go, wait a second, I need to be a little bit smarter here. I need to save some money. I need to give up this expensive apartment and I need to downsize. I ain't moving back in with mom and dad. Where do they move? They move into a room in a HMO. The one type of rental that goes through the roof in a down market is HMO rooms, because it is the cheapest place to be. So when there's less demand, and it's all about supply and demand, when there is less demand for single lets because people want to downsize, then there is a spike in demand for HMO rooms. There has probably never been a better time in 8 or 9 years to have HMO rooms, because there's going to be a spike in demand coming for the people. Because you think about it, the squeeze in the market, everyone's looking for cheaper accommodation, and it'll become even more prominent come October.
Wow. So HMO and the opportunity is still here. It's not about the challenge, not about COVID-19. It's about how we see the market. And one thing I can tell you, yes?
As well, this comes to mindset. When the COVID-19 thing started at the end of March, when we went into lockdown at the end of March, I made a choice, right? I could have chosen to go back to my 2007 mentality and put my head in the sand and go, the world's shit, everything's ruined. But what I chose to do is this. I chose to go to work every day. Get up, get dressed, get out, get making money. Go to work every day. I chose to live my life as if nothing happened. Now, when I say to go to work every day, this is my home. So I'm at my office desk, and my house is just next door. It's my garage. But when I go to work, I come downstairs to my house, I make myself my breakfast, I have a coffee, and I come out into my office. And I work like I did in February, January, and all through 2019. I do what I always did. I didn't let anything change. People still need to live in houses. We still have a property business. The world has to go on. And this pandemic will be over with. And what will happen is some people will miss the opportunity, because more millionaires and more billionaires are created in a time of crisis that are ever created in a time of a rise. And some people will sit back now and go, we can't do anything now. The world's in shit until things are sorted. And then as soon as things are sorted and the markets start to recover, then the very same people will say, we missed the boat. And they're the same people that said, I'm too young and I'm too old.
So what I get from you is that you're never too young, you're never too old. I remember Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook was young when he made his billion. And the Colonel Sanders from KFC wasn't he 65 when he also started KFC? And everyone, apart from some vegan and vegetarian, does not eat chicken, but all of us, we have a taste of KFC, or we know KFC. So then there's never age. There's no need of excuse, because there's endless opportunity. There's always a way if you want to do it. My last question is, I think you are the right person to answer this question based on your experience. My friend asked me, because I attended Progressive Property in 2017, end of 2017, September 2017. Considering I was full-time student, and February 2018, after 5 months, I bought my first property as a full-time student. So if I'm a student, I didn't have a full-time or part-time job. I got a property. Like, you have a full-time job, you have a salary, you can do it. If you don't have full-time job, you don't have full-time salary, you have some cash, you can do HMO. So there's an option for everyone. It's now the never time for you to change and make change. So my last question to you is, people who wants to start in property, but there's always a fear of making mistake or losing money. That's like when you ask people, do you want to do this? That's what they answer. So based on your experience, what do you want to tell them?
I'll tell them to do the maths.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what that means now. So number one is, you mentioned KFC a few minutes ago. We live in the United Kingdom. We live in a democratic country, right? No matter what happens, right? Rob Moore said to me a few years ago, he goes, no matter what happens, you are not going to end up down KFC licking people's fingers. It ain't going to get that bad, okay? So this is what you should do though, right? Right? Think about this. Do the maths. Stay in a job. What's the average salary in the UK? Average salary is around 26 grand. That's before tax, that's salary. That means you take home 1,750 quid a month. 1,750 a month. Let me get a calculator and I'll show you the maths. You might not see this, but 1,750 a month times 12 months times an average working life of 40 years. So you're 24 now. If you work for 40 years, 64 years old. The best part of your life is gone, unless you're 64. If you're watching this and you're 64, the best part's ahead. But you will make 840,000 pounds in your life with average UK salary. That is before you put bread on the table, clothes on your back, car on the road, petrol in the car, diesel in the car, whatever it may be. Before you put kids through school, before you spend a single penny. To make £1 million, to take home, to salary £1 million in 40 years, not take home money, salary, you need to be on 35 grand a year. 35 grand a year, 2250 take home. 2250 times 12 months times 40 years is £1,080,000, £1,080,000. Before you put clothes on your back, food on the table, kids through school, before you spend a penny. 35 grand a year average salary. The system is set up to fail. So you're telling me, right, an audience member, I mean, not you, Eddie, right? An audience member may be sitting at home saying to themselves, it's too risky. What if I fail? The reality is you're failing right now. The reality is you're in a system that's failing you. You're in a system that is failing you, and you already know, just do the maths, you already know the outcome of not taking a chance, of not backing yourself, of not getting educated and not going for it. Here's the thing. You don't have the time, right? 40 hours a week you might work, maybe 50. There's 168 hours in the week. You got the same time as me, and I run 10 companies today. Richard Branson runs 400 odd companies, same time as me. We have 24 hours. We manage our time better. Use your time better, right? If you can't afford it, if you're in debt, go wash some cars. Go out and wash some cars. Wash some people's windows, right? If you don't want to risk the money you're making in your job, go get a second job, pull some pints down a pub when they're open, wash some cars, do something to create some money. And instead of going buying some new clothes with that money, put it to one side and use it to invest in your education, right? Do not get yourself in debt. You back yourself, you put the time into it, and if you really want it, you'll find a way.
Wow. That's fantastic, Kevin. Thanks for everything you gave me today. You know, I'm just sweating. I don't know. I'm not playing football. I'm not at the gym, but I'm just sweating. I don't know why. Maybe it's the information getting in. It's a weight of information. Thanks for that. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the energy. You know, as I believe in God, I pray that God will continue blessing you, continue giving you all you deserve, because there's too much to learn from you. And what you just said, when there's a will, there's a way. If you're tired of your life, if you're tired of living on paycheck to paycheck, waiting for end of month, receiving the rest left over from the company, make change in your life. If you can make change, better days ahead. Thanks for Kevin. I look forward to have you here in the future. And do you have anything to say to the end?
I want to leave everyone with one last thing. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Go smash those goals, guys. I've been Kevin McDonnell. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on. It's been absolutely awesome. I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Okay, thanks. Well, as you can see, that was Kevin McDonnell. He did it. That's fantastic. That's 100%. And I learned a lot of things today. So we are back next on Sunday with someone who speaks Portuguese. He will be also giving us some information about Portuguese. If you speak Portuguese, or if you're interested in learning in Portuguese, every Sunday we have Portuguese live talk. And the Wednesday, 2 p.m., we will have someone also coming out again with good information to challenge our mindset and to change the way we live, helping us to live and to find our purpose and to live better life. Thank you, and keep yourself safe. I look forward to see you Wednesday. Bye.